Ethan Carter paused outside the warm glow of the restaurant, his reflection trembling in the glass as if even the window knew how nervous he was. He tugged gently at his shirt collar, iron pressed at home that afternoon, though the fabric still clung unevenly from too many washes. He checked his breath, rehearsed his best attempt at a casual smile, and whispered to himself, "It's just dinner, it's just dinner." But his heart thudded against his ribs, and the fact he had only $50 in his wallet felt like a weight strapped to his chest. He wasn't scared of the date itself, he was scared of disappointing someone again. He pushed the door open, the soft jingle announcing his arrival. Inside, the air smelled like rosemary and warm bread, the kind of place people visited to celebrate things, anniversaries, promotions, good news. Ethan hadn't celebrated anything in years. His life had become routine. Wake up at dawn, make lunch for his daughter Lily, drop her at school, work double shifts at the hardware store, pick her up, help with homework, repeat. There were no date nights, no extra spending, no surprises except unexpected bills. This blind date, set up by his coworker who'd insisted he needed human contact, was the first step toward reclaiming the part of himself he'd buried under responsibility. He checked his phone. 2 minutes past 7. She should be arriving any second. Then the door opened again, and a woman stepped inside, brushing cold air from her coat sleeves. She scanned the room until her gaze landed on him. Her smile was warm, genuine, the kind that softened the edges of the world. "Ethan?" she asked. "That's me," he replied, swallowing the dryness in his throat. She introduced herself as Rachel, and they shook hands. Her handshake was gentle but confident. Something about her calm presence made his nerves settle, just a little. They took their seats, and a waiter placed menus in front of them. Ethan's stomach tightened. The cover alone felt heavy. He opened it slowly, almost bracing himself. Then he saw the prices. He blinked, looked again. $27, $32, $44. Even the salads were $20 plus. His $50 suddenly felt like a joke. His hand twitched under the table as he pressed the edge of the menu, hoping the tightness in his chest wasn't visible. Rachel glanced through her menu casually, completely unaware of the quiet panic building across from her. "So," she said with a soft laugh, "how did you get talked into a blind date?" "I'll admit, I had to be dragged into it." Ethan forced a smile. "My coworker practically shoved me out the door. Said I needed a life beyond work." "Smart coworker," she said, teasing. He chuckled, but his eyes drifted back to the prices, the numbers blurring as anxiety tightened its grip. He imagined the embarrassment of not being able to pay, of admitting he didn't belong in a place like this, of watching her expression shift from interest to pity. He couldn't let that happen. When the waiter returned, Rachel gestured for Ethan to order first. His voice caught for a moment. He shut the menu quickly. "I'll just have the chicken soup," he said. It was the cheapest thing, barely a full meal, but safe. Rachel raised her eyebrows. "Are you sure? The portions here are pretty small." "Yeah, I'm not too hungry," he lied. She ordered a pasta dish, and Ethan offered another smile, hoping it didn't look as strained as it felt. Across the restaurant, seated alone at a corner table, a man in a charcoal gray suit glanced over. Michael Donovan often came here after long days at the office. As the CEO of a major tech firm, he was used to noise, pressure, and people trying to impress him. But he wasn't used to witnessing moments of quiet dignity like the one unfolding 2 tables away. He'd noticed the single dad the moment he walked in, nervously adjusting his shirt, smoothing back his hair, checking his watch. Then he saw the way the man's eyes widened at the menu. It was an expression Michael recognized intimately. He wore it himself 25 years earlier, sitting in restaurants he couldn't afford while pretending he could belong in a world he had yet to earn his way into. He watched discreetly, not to intrude, but because something about the man felt familiar in a way that touched something old inside him. At Ethan's table, the conversation began to flow more easily. Rachel was easy to talk to. She told him she worked at the library, loved classic movies, volunteered at an animal shelter on weekends. Her laugh was soft and unguarded. Ethan found himself smiling genuinely for the first time all day. But every few minutes, his mind looped back to the bill. $50, $50, $50. It was like a drumbeat. The soup arrived, tiny bowl, barely a handful of chicken floating in it. He thanked the waiter politely and looked away, hoping Rachel didn't notice his embarrassment. But she did notice something else. "You keep tensing up," she said gently. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," he quickly replied. Too quickly. She didn't push him further, sensing he wasn't ready to open up. Instead, she softened the conversation, asking about his daughter. That, at least, lit a spark in him. He spoke about Lily, her wild imagination, her love of dinosaurs, her stubbornness that reminded him so much of her mother. And when Rachel asked about his wife, Ethan hesitated before quietly explaining she had passed away unexpectedly 4 years earlier. "I'm sorry," Rachel whispered. Ethan nodded, his voice thick. "She was everything. I've been trying to be both parents since then." Rachel smiled sadly. "Sounds like you're doing an incredible job." He didn't feel incredible. He felt like a man terrified of a check he couldn't afford. When the waiter eventually returned with the bill, Ethan's stomach dropped. The leather booklet might as well have been a brick. He opened it slowly, bracing himself. $68.42. He felt the air leave his lungs. His fingers trembled against the paper. $50 wouldn't cover it, not even close. Shame rushed up his spine like fire. Rachel saw his face fall. "Ethan, what's wrong?" He stared at the number, feeling his throat tighten to the point of pain. He swallowed hard. "I'm sorry. I should have told you earlier. I didn't know the place would be this expensive. I only have $50 with me." He lowered his head, unable to meet her eyes. "I didn't want to cancel. I just wanted one night where I wasn't the broke single dad who can barely get by." His voice cracked. "I'm so embarrassed." Rachel's expression softened, no judgment, no pity. Just understanding. "Ethan," she whispered, "you showed up. That matters more than anything." Before she could say more, the waiter stepped forward with a gentle smile. "Sir," he said, "your bill has been taken care of." Ethan blinked, confused. "What? By who?" The waiter subtly gestured toward the man in the charcoal suit. Ethan turned and saw Michael Donovan watching him with quiet kindness. And in that moment, before a single word was exchanged, Ethan realized his life was about to change in ways he could never have imagined. Ethan stared at the stranger in the charcoal suit, struggling to find his voice. For a moment, the world around him softened, the clinking silverware, the low hum of conversations, the warm lights overhead, all of it faded into a distant blur. All he could feel was the tremor in his chest, the confusion mixing with disbelief. Michael Donovan rose from his seat. With the calm assurance of someone who had lived long enough to understand when a moment needed a gentle touch. He approached slowly, hands in his pockets, his expression neither pitying nor smug, just sincere. "Evening," he said kindly, stopping beside their table. Ethan straightened instinctively, as if caught doing something wrong. "Sir, thank you, but you really didn't have to do that." Michael smiled. "I know. That's why I did." Rachel watched quietly, her eyes moving between the two men. She could sense something layered happening, something deeper than a simple paid bill. Michael looked directly at Ethan. "I overheard a little. I wasn't trying to, but this place carries sound." He gestured lightly toward Ethan's half-empty bowl. "I heard the soup order." Heat rushed to Ethan's face. "I didn't mean for anyone to." "It's okay," Michael interrupted gently. "You remind me of myself a long time ago. That's why I came over." Ethan felt a lump form in his throat. Something in Michael's voice carried weight, not the weight of authority, but the weight of experience. "The kind you can't fake." Michael continued, "I know what it's like to feel out of place. To want to give someone a good night but not have enough in your pocket to match your intentions. I know what it's like to stretch a dollar until it screams." Ethan blinked, caught off guard. He thought wealthy men lived behind invisible walls of comfort, that they'd never understand struggle. Hearing those words cracked something open inside him. Michael took a business card from his inner jacket pocket and placed it on the table. A simple white rectangle, embossed lettering, elegant and clean. Ethan stared at it. Donovan Industries. His eyes widened slightly. Everyone in the city had heard that name. Michael Donovan was the kind of man who made newspaper profiles, someone schools invited to speak about success and perseverance. Yet here he was, paying a stranger's bill and offering conversation with no expectation attached. "If you ever need an opportunity, call my office," Michael said softly. "Good men are rare, and you're doing the most important job in the world," raising a child alone. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. Ethan opened his mouth, but emotion clogged his voice. He managed a whisper. I don't know what to say. Say nothing tonight, Michael replied. Just enjoy your evening. He tapped the business card once with a finger, then added with a knowing tilt of his head, and order the chocolate lava cake. It's worth every bite. He walked away without waiting for thanks, as if kindness was something that didn't need applause. Ethan watched the man leave the restaurant entirely, stepping out into the cold night with his coat collar turned up. For a long moment, Ethan sat silent, processing everything. It felt surreal, like a scene written for someone else's life. Rachel gently laid her hand on his. He jolted slightly at the touch, then slowly relaxed. Hey, she whispered, you okay? No, he said honestly, his voice breaking on the word. I think someone just changed my life, and I don't even understand how. Rachel's eyes softened. You deserve good things, Ethan. Maybe you haven't had many lately, but you're long overdue. He laughed weakly, wiping at the corner of his eye with the back of his hand. I don't even know if I can call that number. What would I say? Hi, I'm the guy who ordered soup because I'm broke. She smiled, squeezing his hand. You'd say the truth, and the truth is you're a hard-working father who never stops trying. He let her words sink in. They felt like medicine, warm, slow, restorative. A waiter returned with 2 plates, each carrying a chocolate lava cake that steamed lightly. In the cool air of the restaurant, Ethan blinked. We didn't order. Compliments of Mr. Donovan, the waiter said with a grin before leaving. Ethan laughed under his breath, a genuine, surprised laugh that made Rachel smile even wider. They dug into the dessert. It was rich and warm, the chocolate flowing like molten velvet. Ethan closed his eyes briefly as the flavor melted over his tongue. Something about it felt symbolic, sweetness after bitterness, relief after tension. A reminder that life, even at its hardest, could still hold unexpected pockets of light. Rachel watched him quietly, her expression soft. Feels good to see you smile. He swallowed, meeting her gaze. Feels good to remember I still can. The rest of the night flowed easily, naturally. They talked about childhood memories, dreams once abandoned, the quirks of parenting, their favorite movies. Ethan told her about Lily's dinosaur obsession and how she'd made him a Daddy-saurus drawing last week. Rachel laughed so hard she nearly spilled her water. By the time they stepped out of the restaurant, the cold breeze greeted them like a gentle reminder that reality hadn't disappeared, yet something about it felt different, kinder. They walked side by side, slow and unhurried. Their breath misted in the air. Rachel stopped near Ethan's old sedan, turning to him with a soft smile. I had a really good time tonight. I did too, he said. He meant it more than he'd meant anything in years. She tucked her hair behind her ear, hesitated, then asked, almost shyly, would you want to do this again sometime? Ethan stared at her, stunned. Really? After everything tonight? She nodded. Especially after everything tonight. He felt something warm unfurl in his chest, a quiet, beautiful hope. Yeah, he said, a small smile breaking over his face. I'd like that. Rachel leaned forward and kissed his cheek, gentle and warm. Then it's a date. She waved as she walked toward her car, and Ethan watched her go, his heart lighter than it had been in years. When he finally sat inside his own car, he reached into his pocket and pulled out Michael Donovan's business card. He traced the embossed letters with his thumb. He didn't feel like the broke single dad anymore. He didn't feel like the man who ordered soup out of fear. He felt seen. He felt believed in. He felt possible. And sometimes, that's all it takes for a person's life to begin changing. Not money, not luck, but one stranger's act of compassion rippling into a future waiting to unfold. As Ethan drove home under the glow of the streetlights, he whispered to himself, softer than before, but stronger. You got this. Because for the first time, he truly believed it.